Welcome on in, guys. Three bold takes again, and we are back with another reaction sort of style video here. A lot of talk around already expanding the playoff to 14 teams, and we haven't even had 1 year of a 12-team playoff, which, let's at least see how it is first, and then we can discuss. But that's neither here nor there. That's another, I guess, opinion for another day. This video, Sonny Dykes came out because news I guess, came out because of the conversations about the 14-team playoff where the SEC and the Big 10 would like first round buys, automatic first round buys. So
Mm.
Sonny Dykes came out with this quote, and he said, automatic first round buys for the Big 10 and SEC is like the NFL saying the Cowboys get a first round bye since they have more fans than the Bengals. How preposterous is that? Um, do you guys agree with Sonny Dykes here? Do you have any difference of opinion from him? Quinn, I'd like to swing it over to you first.
Yeah, I'll go in first. It puts me at a crossroads because I've been pretty open about the fact that, in my opinion, when you look at college football, the SEC is clearly the top conference in the sport. The Big Ten is a not too distant second, and then there's a big gap after that. I'll completely admit that. If you're talking about strictly what's going to bring you the best talent in a week in a matchup v matchup game, the SEC and Big Ten are going to give you more quality matchups than any other conference in the country.
Mm-hmm.
However, I agree with Sonny Dykes. I think it's preposterous to just automatically give the top two spots to those conferences. That's strictly a money thing because we've seen it firsthand. I don't think there's that much of a change. Obviously, there's a bigger gap with the additions, but the reality has still been a pretty large gap for the past handful of years. And even over the last decade, you still had teams like Clemson, who you could argue there for like a good 5 year stretch. They were easily one of the top two teams in the country. The Big Ten wasn't featured in that. And so that ability still exists out of a team like a Florida State, like a Clemson, like a Miami in the ACC, and has the potential to exist in a Big 12 school. I mean, for crying out loud, TCU made the national title game 2 years ago. They beat Michigan, who won the Big Ten. So I agree with him. I think it's ridiculous to just auto bid the two biggest money making conferences straight to like a first round buy. I wouldn't say it's necessarily an exact parallel that he used, but it would be of that same ilk where strictly because you think they're going to, or strictly because you know they're going to drive better TV revenue, they get the buy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, the Big Ten and SEC, you give them that bye because it's okay, we're gonna weed out the lesser teams. And that holds you up for exactly what Quinn's saying of more money down the line in these games. And that's the problem here. I totally agree with Sonny Dykes. I think this is because like it definitely when you look at the comparison he made, the Cowboys and the Bengals, as of late, the Bengals have been a better team in the playoffs compared to the Cowboys. The Cowboys can't get anything done, but the Cowboys have a wider fan base than the Bengals do. And so it's just not fair to do the SEC and the Big Ten and give them a pass because they are conferences. And I think one of the big reasons you do this is you've been hearing the swirlings of Big Ten, SEC are going to be a Power Two conference here soon in the next few years. How can we appease them to kind of keep them within regulation? Maybe I think that's kind of where it comes from a little bit, and I don't think it's right now. As an SEC fan, I think it's amazing because the SEC is definitely by and far the better conference in the Big 12, but as a college football fan, you can't do that overall. The SEC and Big Ten are the only two you could do that for. And I don't know. There's no reason for a 14-team playoff right now. There's no reason to give out those buys. Nobody has done anything amazing to do that. And so you're going to go from a 12-team playoff, like Freddie mentioned, that has not even been freaking played yet, and say, hey, let's do 14 teams. And then that goes right into what Quinn's saying. It's a money scheme because you haven't even seen a year of the 12-team playoff. The only reason you're even considering a 14 team is to get more teams and more SEC Big Ten teams give them buys and allow for more money to circulate through. I think it's just disgusting, honestly. Fred?
Yeah, I agree that the SEC and the Big Ten shouldn't get more automatic bids or anything like that, or first round buys in anything related to that. But his comment is completely false in
Okay.
the sense of like comparing these two things to the Cowboys getting a first round bye because there's more fans. No, the reason why the SEC and the Big Ten want to do this is because they have won more than any other conference, right? Like going back to the year 2000, right? The SEC and the Big Ten's won 14 out of the 24 national championships, more than the other two, or at that time the other three conferences. Playoff era, same situation, right? With Clemson winning twice and Ohio State winning the first one, and now Michigan, it's still been dominated by the SEC and the Big Ten. Now, remember, the SEC won like 7 straight national championships. LSU, Alabama, Auburn, 7 in a row. So to say that it's just because they have more fans is completely false. The reason why they want to do that is because they know their product is better and they're a better conference than the other two. That's still wrong, though. Like, they still shouldn't be treated better simply because, the fourth best team in the SEC could beat the second best team in the Big 12 or the ACC. We know that. However, win your conference and earn your way in. You should just be given something. So
Right.
his reaction's wrong in the way he compared it and why. However, I do agree that it's not right to give certain, I guess, royalty to the SEC and the Big Ten just because of who they are.
Let me add something in real quick before we wrap this up. I don't understand the move. Like, I get it's strictly for money, get more brands in, why you would go to 14. My issue with going to 14 is when you're at 12, you can achieve both. You can appease the small conferences in the fact that their conference champion isn't treated any differently than the SEC or the Big Ten. And you can still appease the SEC and Big Ten because of the back end structure, putting extra teams from those conferences in to the playoff system. At 14, you take away that first scapegoat where you can like make it seem like there's a fair playing field between conferences when you get the top 4 conference champions all represented. When you take that away, you're opening up room for more complaining and the chance that the conferences actually do this. Because let's be real, that I'm going to take you down what's obviously a hypothetical scenario, but what if Florida was 11-0 going into the last week of the season and Florida State was 11-0, and then Florida State wins and then they win the ACC, and Florida goes out and they win the SEC, and then Florida gets an automatic bye in the as one of the top 2 teams, and Florida State's got to go play even though Florida State's undefeated and has a head-to-head win over Florida. Like, would happen in this world, and that's not a any system where that can happen is not a proper system for your sport.
I agree. A lot of discussion still ongoing about how the playoff structure will be, how the money will be split up. They say the Big Ten are also asking for more money compared to the other two conferences. That's another topic for another video. But guys, let us know down below. Are we off base here? Like, should the SEC and the Big Ten get an automatic bye or get more teams into the playoffs? It's a hot topic. But it's been Freddie, Chase, and Quinn from 3 Bold Takes. We appreciate you watching. Please subscribe, share to your friends, leave a like, and we'll see you guys next time.